Hello and welcome to another exciting episode of the School Safety Free Period. I'm Amanda Klinger.
And I'm Dr. Amy Klinger.
And we are with the Educators School Safety Network. We're a national nonprofit organization, and we provide professional development, technical assistance, training, resources to K-12 schools throughout the United States and Canada. And every once in a while, we take a little bit of a break from our normal work where we're very serious and very academic. And we have this, our free period, where we're a little bit loose, a little bit less serious, but we talk about some of the school safety issues that are out there and the things that you all are dealing with as educators and administrators. So what do we have today?
Well, I think today we want to just touch on real briefly, and I don't want this to become things you should worry about that you didn't know you should worry about. I don't want it to become that. But I do think that it's important now and again to kind of look at things that you go, oh, I didn't realize that happens. And so this was an incident that happened at a high school here in Ohio where, for whatever reason, someone brought an explosive device and put it up against the front door, one of the entrances, and blew out the entrance of the school. School was not even in session.
That's my question. So school was not in session. This was over the summer?
Yeah.
Okay. And it's believed that the perpetrator was not a student.
It was correct.
It was an adult.
So it was an adult.
Okay.
And, it reminds me of a couple other ones that we've seen over the years, all of which had a little bit of a similar MO, as they say, where it was someone from outside the organization.
Do you know what MO stands for?
Modus operandi.
Well, that's pretty good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. It's not even an idiom. I feel like we're featuring idioms in every podcast.
We've just changed. This is now a podcast only about idioms. School safety, we've solved.
So that's our
Now
that's our spin-off. That's our spin-off podcast on idioms. But anyways, but we've seen similar situations where someone from the outside has brought an explosive device for whatever reason and typically put it up against the door. So the question is, is this going to happen to your school? Probably not.
Oh, wait, one more thing. So the device did detonate.
Correct.
And there was damage.
Correct.
But we're not talking about like the school was leveled.
No.
Right? And I think that's
in any of these cases.
Yeah, and that's pretty typical that there is a detonation. It is successfully detonated. There is damage. There's typically not injuries or fatalities, and there's typically not like catastrophic damage, but there is a detonation with damage. So
right. And so I think the takeaway is, is this going to happen at my school? No, probably not. But also, it is not outside the realm of possibility because we do see, and you can do a lot, a lot of our research indicates that there is always, in many, many, many cases, some kind of a correlation, either in thought or in deed, with explosive devices and attacks on a school that involve a gun or the thought of that. And you see a lot of that where there's this combination or the desire to involve explosives in some way. And you see that in a lot of active shooters that are not school related. And so there is a tie there. And then we also have to remember that it's pretty easy to do. This is not so difficult to do. You don't have to be highly skilled.
Building an explosive,
building some sort of homemade device is not out of the realm of possibility because it's not that difficult to do. There are instructions available. The materials you need are not that difficult to find. So I think it needs to be something that's on our radar, not necessarily as in I'm looking for a bomb, but as in, do we have a lot of things around our entrances that would allow people to hide things? A lot of bushes, big trash cans, things like that. And do we have somewhat of a realistic vigilance in terms of who is that and why are they skulking around the building? So I think it's really a combination of a variety of proactive measures that is the takeaway from this story.
Yeah, and I think, a couple of things to build off of that. Have we set ourselves up for success to be able to quickly identify a thing that's not supposed to be there? And I think you mentioned about the sort of appropriate vigilance of who is that person. But you also mentioned, we have all these bushes, we have all these areas where things can hide. And those are really valid concerns. But I also challenge schools to think about, do we have so much stuff around? And one that we've really noticed a lot that I'll bring to the attention of administrators, and they will be like, oh my gosh, I never even thought of that. That just like the boxes of like, oh yeah, well, we store this thing got delivered here and we have this pallet of boxes sitting here.
Or it's just sitting, the delivery is sitting outside for a whole day and a half or something.
Do we have stuff, whether it's kids' stuff that's been left around or whether it's our stuff that, well, I know that box is a delivery and it's supposed to be there, or I know that someone's coming to get that, and so it's sitting there. But have we created an environment or a culture where there is just kind of stuff always, which makes it much more difficult,
especially sport equipment, book bags,
which makes it much more difficult for someone to notice, hey, what's that thing? That's not supposed to be there. I always kind of draw the comparison where I lived in Washington, D.C., in the metro system, there is not trash cans on the platforms because we don't want there to be an easily accessible way for there to be stuff. There's not trash cans. There's not like stuff laying around. There's not unhoused people. There's not backpacks. There's not like visually stuff. The platforms are very plain, very empty, which makes it incredibly obvious when something has been left there, like an explosive.
Is it still like that, you think?
Well, I don't live there anymore, but I would suspect that it is still very much the same because it's a really important security measure. So there's that one. And then the second one I wanted to say, one thing that we need to make sure that we talk about when we talk about the concern of explosives at school, it is so much more of an insidious problem because I'm willing to bet that if someone walked from the parking lot of your school towards the front door of your school carrying a long gun, brandishing a gun, people are going to notice. People are going to notice and go, holy cow, something is wrong. We have a real problem here. I'm noticing that. If someone had a backpack full of explosives, you would not have the same level of initial concern because you don't know it's a backpack full of explosives. And so not only do we have to set ourselves up for success, which is clean things up so that we notice when stuff has been left behind here, but we have to start thinking about what does that look like? And we are sort of starting inherently, because a backpack full of explosive does not look as dangerous as a gun, we are starting behind the 8 ball. We're not going to have as much lead time. We are not likely to notice that a backpack is full of explosives because it looks like a backpack. And so we have to kind of understand that we are at a real asymmetry of information. We are at a real disadvantage with something that looks innocuous, a backpack full or a, baseball bag or lacrosse bag full of explosives looks innocuous. And so we have to kind of understand that we're really coming from behind in understanding those threats.
But the good news is that the desire to fix some of these things also has a pretty good positive impact on your culture.
Yes.
That we don't have junk just laying around. We don't have all these boxes and it looks, things look like we care about the school and we are cleaning it up and we want it to look good. I think one of the things that I think is missed, and I'll just throw this one out there, that seems to me to be such a low bar of entry, is that you just have this protocol or this procedure that somebody walks the grounds every day.
Mm-hmm.
So before kids come on the grounds, somebody walks the grounds to make sure there is nothing left there that shouldn't be there, or nothing suspicious, or nothing that, whether it's drug paraphernalia or, who knows what. That to me seems like a real simple way to do that. And I'm not saying that these incidents occurred because they weren't doing that. These incidents look like someone just walked up and did it. But the combination of we walk the grounds, we watch, we pay attention to who's coming on campus, we put things away, we don't have a lot of stuff laying around. Those three things can really be a good deterrent for this kind of a possible scenario.
Yeah, and that's a good point of we're paying attention to who's here. We were working at a school where they have a sort of after-hours security system where it's off-site monitoring of cameras. And the feeling is that, well, if the off-site monitoring sees someone on the camera and they engage with them through the speaker and the person leaves, then we're in the clear, right? The person left, they're not on campus, we don't have to be concerned. And I think you're missing something in that, which is, did they leave something behind? That, it's great that that
What
person,
were they doing there?
right? That person is no longer there. That person is no longer a threat in that sense. But we have to then go behind and go, did they leave something? Like, do we need to be concerned about that? And I think you raise a good point, this notion of having a sweep. And yeah, we're talking about it today in the context of guns, but the notion of what's here that's not supposed to be here, broadly speaking, is a really good habit to start to build up in your folks and in the way that you use your physical spaces, that we're quickly able to notice drug paraphernalia, a bomb,
and that's one of the things.
Cannabis, gummy. Like, are we able to quickly notice the things that aren't supposed to be here?
And that's one of the things we've talked about for years is, you have to be able to walk and chew gum. So yeah, we need to think about active shooter, which everybody's already doing, but we also need to think about there's a lot of other ways in which someone can do harm to a school that don't involve a gun. So I think expanding our definition, not of our definition of things to worry about, but expanding our definition of what we're preventing and looking for is always going to be beneficial.
Yeah. Well, so there you have it. That's kind of a quick one. And I appreciate your framing that. We're not trying to give you new things to be worried about, but we are giving you things that, this is something that I could pay attention to. This is something that could be on my radar a little bit. And you don't know the types of things that you could prevent, low level or something that would be worse and something that would be, more like a real crisis. So we kind of appreciate that discussion and framing it that way. If you have any questions or comments or concerns, you can always email us, info@eschoolsafety.org. That is our website, www.eschoolsafety.org. We have tons of free resources, all kinds of different information. You kind of alluded a little bit into the research that we've done about school-based violent incidents and threats. And there is some specific discussion about school-based bomb incidents and threats. Although they are not that pervasive, it is something that we want to make sure that is always,
and they happen way more than you think.
Yeah, that's true. They are not super pervasive, but they do happen a lot more than what is the perception. And so it's good to make sure that those don't fall off of our radar. So until next time, thanks so much.